Brenda, is Brock coming back?
What's that?
Brock coming back?
Yeah, he's coming back. We've got to get Nance down the line.
Okay.
I'm just gonna sit you on your seat, okay?
Hi, Nancy. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
Well, thank you.
Look well today. A new dress. Hit me next time she sees me.
You ready to go? Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission for February 7th, 2022. We have established a quorum, all 5 of us. By the way, congratulations for all 5. I would entertain a motion to approve minutes for 2 meetings, one for January 3rd and January 18th.
Make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve minutes for January 13th and 18th.
3rd and 18th.
Oh, 13th, 18th, sorry.
Okay, I got a motion. Second?
Second.
Got a second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we have nobody on the agenda, so it moves us down to number 4, which is our public hearing and action. Our first action item tonight is the annexation zone of R4 planned unit development. The applicant of Kaisa, and I apologize if I mess up anybody's names. I really am. Huh? Kaisa, thank you. Kaisa Cruz, Steve Taylor, Tieran, right? Thank you. A request to annex and zone to R4 PUD, approximately 15 acres, located on South 10th East Street, formerly Daniels Road, east of Southwest Silverstone Avenue, west of South 10th East Street. This annexation also includes the entirety of South 10th East Street, Daniels Road, and that fronts this parcel of land. Mr. Cherry.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this should be very familiar to everyone because we recently went through this in a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. However, after further due diligence, we realized that it was noticed incorrectly, being that it did not include the entirety of South 10th East Street, which fronts the property. Which, per state statute, unless we have a contract with the Mountain Home Highway District, we need to include those within annexations. So I do want to note that we have been speaking to the Mountain Home Highway District, and we believe we actually have a deal for this specific piece of roadway. But we want to make sure that we have something formalized to take to City Council. So no, even though we are including the roadway within this annexation, that there could be a probability that once we go to City Council that we have something formal and the annexation of the roadway may be left out. But we wanted to include it. We want to make sure we're doing our due diligence and meeting state statute. So I'm just going to give a brief summary, and the applicant will give a brief presentation also. We understand this is something that you've heard before, but we probably have people in the audience that haven't, and we just want to make sure everyone has the best information possible. So what is being proposed is a mixed-use residential development, which would consist of 24 live-work townhomes, 8 non-live-work townhomes, and 4 attached townhomes with a small office and a coffee shop. And there would also be shared amenities, which would have a playground area, community gardens, sports courts, and activity fields. As I mentioned when we first heard this is a PUD, which is meant to be amended later on for future development. I believe it's anticipated that future development, and I will allow the applicant to correct me during his presentation, will be primarily for single-family use, and also a storage area and daycare component, which he can elaborate on further. When we look at our comprehensive plan, it designates this area as residential. This development, though it does have a commercial component, it is neighborhood commercial in its overall nature, meaning that these are uses that are meant to be 8 to 5 uses. They're uses that are meant to be more harmonious with residential uses within close proximity. Thus, I believe it meets the intent of what is within our comprehensive plan, though, however, that could be seen differently. Other than that, when we look at the standard for a planned unit development, it's to foster and also promote a variety of land uses and also combinations. I believe this one is diverse. We want developers to use a creative view when it comes to development, which I believe the applicant has done. We want to retain and also conserve natural land and topographic features. This is when in the past presentation and also the presentation you're going to see, I believe they are trying to preserve much of the natural fauna and also flora with those big trees that have been there for years and years and years. We want to promote greater use of streetscape and pedestrian-oriented aesthetics. That's, I believe, when we look at the live-work units and the small commercial portion, they're very pedestrian-oriented, meant for pedestrian traffic to be there. To promote the creation and efficient use of open spaces, which you'll see in the applicant's presentation. To create flexibility and variety in the improvements on the individual lots, and to create flexibility in development standards to facilitate creative land development concepts, which I believe are there. A lot of this report I've already given before, so what I'm going to do is I'll yield my time to the applicant to go through his presentation, and then we will open up ourselves for any questions you may have, and then go into the public hearing.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Steve Taylor, 3368 Lake Harbor Lane, Boise, Idaho, 33702. This is a presentation you've seen before. I don't want to delay or waste your time, but I can go through it again. I was prepared to address the issue that we've tried to go through our due diligence and define a legal description for the entirety of the roadway there. And we're working with the city to understand exactly how that legal description needs to reside, whether it's on the plat, if it's a separate agreement, and we're still working on that. Everything else has remained the same. Our planning, our mapping, nothing's changed.
If you wouldn't mind, just real quick, because we might have some new faces in the audience that might want a little bit information about it, so that'd be great.
I'll just briefly introduce each slide.
Okay, perfect.
So we are 15 acres just south of town. We have paid very close attention to the comprehensive plan and the techniques for annexation. We are within a 2-mile radius, and we've got confirmation from all city entities that services can be provided. We are directly in the comprehensive plan residential. Orange is the operative color here. So we're paying attention to the intentions of the comprehensive plan on where to develop for residential. We've followed housing and transportation, smart growth strategies, all noted in the comprehensive plan itself. And we have in close proximity to sewer and water on the east and west boundaries of the property. We are on a collector, and the comprehensive plan states thou shalt develop on collectors. So we feel good about the traffic study that's been conducted on the road itself. So our land use and transportation objectives fit well within the comprehensive plan. Here's our 15 acres. It's a 20-acre parcel, and we're subdividing, we're dividing that out, parcel A and parcel B. Here's the original 1978 survey, and this is the area we plan to annex. We've worked closely with the city and have all application documents for the annexation deed subdivision recorded online. We have our phase 1, we have our traffic impact study, our soils tests, and the location of water lines and test pits for our soils. Our survey and topo is complete. Our preliminary plat has been recorded. Our landscape plan is complete. Our preliminary new grading plan has been overlaid on our topo. And we have designs for our townhomes, our apartments, our commercial space with apartments above. And we've paid particular attention and tried to be thoughtful about the placements of the townhomes. I know that was a concern before, so here are a couple slides showing the height of existing trees that we've intentionally taken a live-work unit to be developed behind. And here's that streetscape, and these are towering pines, cottonwoods, etc., that are on the north side of the property, and they will dwarf the woodwork and the apartment buildings, etc. This is to scale. This is a view from the north as you're approaching the property. These trees are buffering the initial development, and this is the streetscape from 10th Street looking west. So we're here to answer any questions. We're very proud of the development, and we think it meets the comprehensive plan intentions, and we'll continue to work with the council and the city as we do so.
Thank you. I also appreciate how thorough and how detailed you also have a presentation. So thank you for going through it again.
Thank you.
Because it is on our public action, hearing and action, I do want to open up to the public.
Sorry. I apologize. Prior to opening up the meeting to the public, I just also wanted to say that on January 31st, we did receive a letter from a property owner, Miss Althea Barnslater Fackrell. I apologize if I did not pronounce your name correctly. I don't know if they're present here, but they did have some concerns as far as Daniels Road and also the traffic impact. In your staff report, there is the summary from the traffic impact study. I remember at our very first meeting concerning this item, that was of great concern. This body tasked the applicant to go back to his engineer to ensure that it took into consideration agricultural traffic, which we did receive comment back saying that it did. But I just wanted you all to be aware of that letter to make sure that we do our best to speak to the concerns stated by this citizen.
Yeah, thank you. Before I do open it up to the public hearing, one thing I do want to ask is anybody who does want to state any comments or questions to this, please direct anything to us as a board. Please do not ask anything from the developer. It is to us in which you are going to talk. We will be writing down notes, taking questions, and then once everybody goes through, we will address each question and, if need be, address the developer themselves to answer any more specific questions. So please, when you do come up and have any comments or questions, please make sure that you are asking us directly. So with that, I'd like to open it up to the public. If you do feel like you want to come up, please come in, sign in. Just need your name and address. And there we go. Come on up.
Can I sit down?
Yep.
This is at 1186 Gillespie Lane. Three weeks ago, when you guys had your last planning and zoning meeting, you weren't present at the time. He wasn't present at the time. I don't think you were either. I don't know your name there. I can't see what.
Travis.
Travis. So you weren't present, and you weren't present. The lady was, and I don't think you were either. Anyway, the only one in the audience at the time was Misty. And when you were all talking about the planning and zoning of the comprehensive plan, some of you made the comments that, no, I haven't read it all because it would take me till I have to retire to read it all. Under the Idaho statute, Title 67, Chapter 65, that is your job to know what is in in the comprehensive plan. So here's some,
Can I
just a
ask,
little
do
bit
you-
of
do you-
information.
Do you have questions about this, the actual planning and development of what we're doing?
Yeah, it does have to
Okay,
do
can-
with it. Because I want to know how you can make an informed decision on something that you haven't even read. You were all sitting up here, not all of you, but some of you that, oh no, I haven't even read it. How can you make an informed decision when you don't even know what's in the plan?
Okay, is that a question?
Yeah,
We-
I'd like to know.
We'll address all the questions at the end, so I will make sure I'll make a note of that and be able
Okay.
to let you know.
Have you read it
I have. Cover to cover.
completely?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you read it, Mr.?
I have read it. It's have you went through the,
Yes, I actually have some,
I have it right here with me.
one for each of you. Sorry.
Yes, I have.
Jeff, do you have something to say?
So, yeah, I guess, as the chairman pointed out, they'll answer the question at the end, so.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions about the development?
Just how can you approve anything when you don't even know what's in it, when you guys haven't read it? So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
First question is, I'm with the planning, or the commission, Highway District Commission. I am the commissioner chairman. I haven't seen this gentleman ever, and I want to know who he talked to. If it was Louis never brought it up to us.
Can I get your name? I'm sorry. Can I get your name?
What's that?
Can I get your name?
Larry Hall.
Larry, thank you.
George is my first name, but everybody knows me by Larry for 81 years
Okay.
here in Mountain Home.
And you are a commission for the Highway District?
Yep.
Okay. And you would like to know who the developer talked to for the Highway District, okay?
Right.
Okay. Any other questions, or?
Yes.
Okay.
I wrote a book. I own the property on the south side of this development. I want to know how he's going to handle my fence, my trees, how the water's coming in, how the sewer's going out. And the reason why I want to know about the sewer is freers on the end of the sewer line get flooded every year that we have a lot of moisture. Next question would be the traffic study. Usually when we do a traffic study, we put hoses out, so cars go over, we know how many cars go down that road. Being as I've lived there since 1949, and it was a gravel road, I'm pretty sure I know how many cars are on that road, because now I'm retired. So I just want to know where he had those hoses at, or where he had the counters at. There's a dozen other questions, but I'd prefer that. Just look him right in the eye and ask him, but I don't want to bother you gentlemen with it. I wouldn't mind bothering him with it. Greg, I'm pointing at you.
Oh.
Can I offer a suggestion? I know that the developer is extremely open to having conversations. I would say after the meeting, if you get with him and have those conversations, I know that he would be more than happy to discuss anything that concerns you or questions you might have about that development. But we will ask these ones for sure tonight to get better understanding.
Okay, and the next one is there roads going out the back of that property? And if so, how is he exiting them? If not, there's gonna be an awful lot of traffic going down Daniels or South 10th East.
Okay.
That'll do for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, Jeff?
So and Brock, you might answer this, did the highway district reply to the notice in terms of writing a letter?
In terms to writing a letter, no. And I can let Rich speak to this, but our public works director with our street superintendent Gene have been in communication with Louis, I believe.
Yes. And
Go ahead. Yeah.
Commissioners, yeah, we've talked with Louis about it, and we're kind of looking at that, and also at the same time looking at what's happening around with Paiute. And so we've been in conversation how it's working. It's kind of hard to maybe pick the plow up and drop it, so we've been kind of working back and forth with that. So.
Thank you.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Terry, from a procedural or just a technical perspective, the highway district as an entity has a right to provide written testimony. And I assume it looks like you're in two roles. One is the neighbor, but the other one, you're the chairman of the highway district commission. Is that right? Okay. So they didn't send a letter to us. Okay.
No.
Okay.
However, I can say, not from necessarily a statute standpoint, where we are required to send letters to political subdivisions, but we've also taken initiative to improve our administrative process to include entities such as the Mountain Home Highway District, hopefully early on in future decisions. We are experiencing growing pains. We're experiencing more growth than we have in a while. So we are hopefully improving those processes so that in the future, chair people from that group can say, yes, this is something that we're knowledgeable of, and they can have the best information possible.
Okay. That was my concern, is if you didn't know.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, my name is Misty Pierce. I live in the Dono subdivision. So I'm just curious how you guys are doing traffic studies when the advisory committee was suspended indefinitely last week by the city council. And then my next question is, do you guys realize that you're creating leapfrog developments by skipping and boarding around in the county areas, and you're boxing in all these county people who bought their lands in the county so they can have a country life instead of a city life? Those are my two questions.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm speaking primarily on behalf, I'm John Kruger. I'm from 410 West 3rd North. Speaking primarily on behalf of Brad Egan because he was not able to be here tonight. As you all know, it's been said over and over, one of the biggest concerns with this specific development, I appreciate what it is. I think they did a good job on developing something that could benefit the town. But that road is the biggest concern. And I do appreciate that you're looking at annexing the entire road My concern with that is living where I do, my roads are really, really terrible right now, being city roads. So, is that road being better taken care of as a county road or as a city road? And I realize portions of it right now I think are still gravel. But the last time I drove out there, it seemed like it was relatively okay as far as the road goes. There's, of course, legalities that come into that, I understand. So I guess the only point I want to make here is with the impact fees that are going to go onto these developments and everything, I'll just throw a word of caution out to make sure they're high enough to maintain that road for a period of time that's sustainable. I guess there was no question there, but thanks.
Appreciate your comments. Thank you, John. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing for this. And good questions, good conversation. This is about ready to be had. So let's. I'm going to actually get to Suzette's question at the very end. We'll start with Larry's. And Commission Highway District, do you feel as though you had a good answer from Rich about that and from Jeff about the conversation that, okay.
Yes, I do.
So, he mentioned the fence, the trees, the water, the sewer, the flood, and all that kind of stuff. He also mentioned that where the roads are going. Can you enlighten on what that would look like in your development?
Sure. So I have to address you.
Sadly, you got to address me. I know. Just speak loud. Again, I was going to say, can he speak loud so that? Yeah, absolutely.
I'll do
Yeah.
my best. I appreciate that.
And again, I also do, at the end of the meeting, I encourage you both to get together and have a conversation.
Can I address you about that?
Yeah.
We have a resident on the property now who acts as the project manager, property manager.
Okay.
And he interacts with Larry on a continuous basis, as needed basis. So they have a good relationship. So I work with the property owner, Kaiser Cruz, and with Ken Mills on neighbor issues, et cetera.
Okay.
And I'm willing to meet, as you suggested, at 24/7.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Yeah.
Just quickly, I'll just need to scroll through. So here's our landscape plan, and this is the access road onto 10th Street here. And there is sewer here, as we and our neighbor are aware. So we will be discharging into this sewer line here. And there is water on the west end. We will be accessing the water for the facility on the west end.
Can I ask a real quick question on that one? Are you accessing it from the Silverstone? Okay, so Silverstone Development, that's where you're accessing water?
There's an easement on a gazebo, little small lot there that we will access this at the street location in Silverstone.
Thank you.
Steve, if you roll a few more, you have some pictures of where it was.
Back.
I can't remember where they were. Right, yes. See that corner?
So water is here in the street, under the street, and there's another sewer line here, but it's deeper, and this is more local. So we will access sewer here and water here. And we will work with the community, the neighbors to, right now we plan a fence, a 6-foot high fence partitioning this property and neighbor's property. And we will work with the neighbors to make sure that that's adequate and the right height.
Okay.
Were there any other specific questions?
Okay, was he concerned also about the stormwater?
Yes, this they flooded every year, so there was.
I wanted to touch on that.
Yep.
So normally, the process of development, if this was to get passed by city council, the next step would be a preliminary plat, which is a document that has to be compiled by a Idaho certified engineer. essentially saying that we can retain stormwater on the site. And it is our city code that it has to be designed to do that. And if it fails to do that, then the engineer who put his stamp on it has an issue that the city will come for. But no, it is the expectation being fully developed out that they retain all stormwater on site.
Okay. Thank you. Commission, do you have anything else that I might have missed?
He had a question about the roads, if I can, Chairman, about the road and the traffic directly out on Daniels Road or 10th now. Do you plan on creating a road in between Silverstone development and the back of your development, or is that going to be a fence out?
That's a right of way, I believe the city holds, so we don't plan to break into Silverstone at all. We're proposing that this be on the comprehensive plan recommended collector of 10th Street. So there's 5 or 6 different statutes in the comprehensive plan that says thou shalt build on this collector, take advantage of the intentions of future development, et cetera. And our traffic study takes that into account as well.
Okay.
And I think there was a question, if I may. Sorry. So these are the 4 intersections that were included in our traffic study as recommended from the city's request from the Department of Transportation, I believe. Brock, if you could clarify that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Nancy?
I have just one question on the correction on the looking at the statement of fact. Get my brain together here. Sorry. I just wanted to clarify that the annexation of the entirety of South 10th Street, which was Daniels Road, is that just annexing the portion that's abutting the development, or all of Daniels Road, all of 10th East Street?
Nancy, that is only the portion that fronts the proposed project.
Okay, thank you.
And then, Jack, did you have something
I was just gonna say all the way, you don't go halvesies.
No, it's all the way across. It's the entirety of Daniels Road, which fronts the proposed development.
So just so that we're all understanding, that includes the park that's already currently there.
That includes the road, which is already there.
Okay.
Oh, the park? No.
The-
What is being annexed? So I'm going to ask.
So, yeah, so,
Can I clarify?
yeah, go for it, please.
So I heard a couple of mixed messages and mixed descriptions. We are not annexing the entire north-south distance of Daniels Road, which is 235 miles. We've originally thought that we were annexing from our property line here to the center line. We've since been advised that we need to propose and work with the entities to annex the entire road width, which is approximately 66 feet, 33 feet from center line either side. That's an approximate number. For the length of the frontage that our property has, which is approximately 272.4 feet. So it would look like, rectangle, something, in this shape right here.
Okay. Yep, perfect, thank you. Okay, let's talk about the traffic study. Brock, can you go into a little bit more detail of kind of explaining the process that went into this, how it was collected, and all that stuff?
So I was hoping I would be able to answer the specific question that was had was how was it counted? Was it off of projections or was it actually off of real data? Had I had the full report here, that's something that I could do. I don't believe that information is available within the actual summary. I may need to just look on my computer fairly quickly and see if I can hurry and find it for you. I know it is in the study, but right now it just said based on the ITE trip generation manual. So I cannot confirm whether or not the trip projections was based on real data.
Right, that's on number 1.2 of the proposed development.
Correct.
Okay.
But if you would like to go through other questions while I look briefly, I try to find.
Well, the problem is, I think I'd have to get you to answer the other question as well. So can you address the comment about boxing development?
Boxing development, the leapfrog development. So Ms. Pierce is correct. There's a portion of our current city code when we have our annexation standards that discourages against that practice. However, one thing that our code lacks that we need more of is precise definitions, which I would kind of give it to legal, to being that within our own ordinance that we don't have a statute of what that generally is. How should we interpret it, that portion of city code?
So, to clarify, the act of annexation is a legislative act, and that's when it's done at the request of an applicant. It's discretionary on the part of the city. So, a guideline is, and as you can see from the city's boundaries, there are notches and things that can provide questions to in whose jurisdiction events occur. And so the idea of calling something leapfrog development is, I guess, annexing one part, then annexing on the other side, leaving an unannexed area in between. That's a guideline in the ordinance for the city to consider about how the boundaries look.
Okay.
So, but the act of annexing the property isn't for you. Your role in this is to zone the property should it be annexed.
Okay.
So, that's, those are policy considerations that I also come to play, though, in the ultimate use to which the property is put, and the need for the entity that provides services to that property efficiently. So, someone responding to a call for service, knowing whether the agency that responds to that should be the city or the county police department, or which fire entity is responsible for it, and so forth.
I'm glad you brought up that point, because I know that there are different areas within our city, especially down South 12th, where on one side you have county and on the other side you have city. And when a fire page stone goes off, depending on what side of that road, it determines what fire engine's coming. And so that does kind of create a little bit of a debacle at times.
And that's a great, 12th is a great example where we work together with the highway district, because that's really their road. So we helped, because obviously we have things on both sides of it right there also, kind of the same way. So like this last year, when they did the chip seal, so I think we paid for the chips, they paid for the oil and put it down. So we do partnerships with a lot of that stuff, and that's kind of the same thing when we talked about this road, that they already maintain it all the way out to Freers, all the way to the end of it. So they'll drop, well, we actually have the first part to Paiute, and then they take it over. So usually, for the most part, it's just easier just to drop the plow, if we're talking snow, to drop the plow right at the beginning of 12th, run all the way out. Well, they hit ours, they're not going to pick it up and go 200 feet and then drop it and then keep going out. They're just going to run the whole thing out. So those are where we kind of get agreements to figure out who's kind of doing what. So we work together with that.
May I answer that too? we have made that decision a long time ago, to take care of Daniels Road from the intersection of 10th, clear down to Freer Place. I mean, like you said, if you drop that plow, it doesn't pay you to pick it up and move.
Okay.
Yeah, we try to work together a lot of the different places where they could be loose and different things, so.
Okay, thank you. Brock, you got something?
Not yet. I would go to the next question. It's still.
Okay.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, to get back to the guidelines on annexation and your recommendation regarding the annexation zones, is an interesting, it says promote goals of population balance, contiguous development, and prevention of costs that are due to leapfrog development. So, it doesn't say you shouldn't have leapfrog development. It cautions against or I guess tasks you with making a recommendation based on alerting someone to an additional cost that leapfrog development could bring. And I'm not sure what that means. I didn't write that, but anyway, it just says costs due to leapfrog development.
Okay.
So, I'm not aware of any specific costs that have been identified. Prevention of costs due to leapfrog development.
Mr. Chair.
Sir.
I found where the data came from, and they were based off of traffic counters between July 15th and October 19th, 2021.
Okay.
Is when they measured the traffic volumes.
Can't be the only one up here asking questions. Gentlemen.
Yeah, question, Mr. Commissioner. Mr. Keaty, a few meetings ago, I don't know the date off the top of my head, we talked about the different grades of roads, like A, B, C, and D. And I know this is mixed use between county and city. What label would you put on this for traffic? Is it A road or B road, or is that
Yellow.
is that definition exists between the county and the city in that?
I believe we use pretty much close to the same things with A, B's, and C's. I'd have to look and see what it was on the traffic study, but I know it's not below a C. I'm not sure. I'd have to look. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Okay.
I'd have to look at the plan on that.
And could you, sorry to put you on the spot, could you elaborate just to the audience of what that A, B, and C means?
So, well, an A level is, the road is big enough and has enough capacity to handle everything that's around there, and as more traffic starts getting on that, it starts to drop to a B level or a C level, and usually once it's below a C level, then something has to be taken care of to mitigate that property or something coming in. And the traffic study said that what's going to come in from this is going to leave it at the level of service that it is at or just below it, so it's not going to have modify any changes in the road to mitigate anything that's coming in at that development.
Yep, yeah, it's just, so if it's below, and I don't know if it's a answer Brock can answer or not, if it's at or right below with future growth, how would that impact that? I know it talks about the growth right now between the traffic study, but say 5 years from
It
now,
looks at full build out
for the
for the
entirety.
development, for that development.
So, and I'm thinking of just say that another property owner wants to do X down the road, so
They would have to come and do another traffic study if we asked them to do one to make sure that.
then if they didn't meet that, if the road didn't meet that, that would
have to
be.
mitigate it.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Roeder, doing just a brief overview of the traffic study at large, and I want to tell the public as well. This is part of a application. It is public record. You can ask for it, and we will share it, certainly with whomever. In the future, I think we'll do a better job at making sure that the Mountain Home Highway District also has their own copy. So I'm going to make that note for my own self. But from what I'm seeing is with the new development at full build out, We don't have any road which is below a B level of service. And to describe, A is certainly the best. A is nothing. You're able to get exactly where you want to be, minimal disturbance. B, there's some inconvenience, but still good. C is when it starts getting hairy, and then D's and F's. No one's parents like seeing D's and F's on report cards.
Right, sorry to put you on the spot again, Mr. McKee. Could you describe what an A road looks like in town, a common road, so people would have an ideal? Since this is just right below B, I think South Fifth West was an A road.
18th is an A road.
Okay, 18th is A road. Okay.
And
So this is right below
that's a
18th.
brand new A road. I mean, but there's probably some. I mean, I actually think that Third would be an A road.
Okay. So it's just right at, okay. Thank you. Sorry to.
Any other questions, Commission?
Mr. Chairman?
Sir.
So there was a question, John Kruger asked about the impact fees and the maintenance and so forth. We talked briefly about the maintenance, how the city and the county work together, but I think, Brock, if you want to elaborate, we're working on the impact fee thing.
So currently, the city does have impact fees, which are being charged. Right now, total, and the impact fees go to roads, police, and fire. It's $1,050 per dwelling unit. The city recently had a independent consultant, Ann Westcott from Galena Consulting. She's been doing impact fees in Idaho for the last 20 years. She does a very good job. She did a review. We have a report that is also public record. It's not a secret. You can come to my office, and if you would like a copy, I can help you through that process in order to receive a copy. I appreciated that comment because growth needs to pay for growth. It's important because when it doesn't do that, it goes back on the existing taxpayers, which isn't as fun. Know that the changes within the impact fee structure, which are being recommended just upon what the city will need in order to continue to give you the same level of service that we have today, is substantial. They can be a 300, 400% jump. That is going to be a presentation given to City Council on February 14th. So grab your sweetheart and come to a City Council meeting and let's talk about impact fees. But no, it is something that is important. The impact fees go towards roadway improvements to ensure that those areas of road which aren't optimal are adequately filled in and that we have suitable infrastructure.
Anything else, Mark?
No.
Okay. Nancy, do you have anything?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Travis, Billy?
No.
Okay.
I just want to rehash on one question. I think I heard the answer, but I just want to confirm that, or in line that I did. For fire and police protection, since this is county/city, I know their agreement, so how would, I mentioned you talked about that, who would come or respond first? So how would that exactly work then?
So
Would it be
this
911?
development, and Commissioner Topher, given his unique experiences, is probably already aware. Having it be in the city, we would respond it to as a city call. So the apparatus that we would take out would be your typical city fire truck.
Okay.
Whereas if this is the county, or those who reside in the county within this area, if you were to need fire services, you would see rural apparatus come out, but still the same great looking firemen. So
The biggest difference would be that on a city development, you're going to have hydrants to hook up to. On a rural development, you're not going to have any hydrants, which we have to bring our water.
you need to bring tenders with
So that's the big thing. So when you look at this development that's happening, because it's going to be annexed into the city, they're required to have fire hydrants in place for the city apparatus.
Which, for properties that are near this property, you could even perhaps argue by having city water nearby, it does give another tool to the fire service to certainly use in responding to properties around there, knowing that there could be perhaps a hydrant nearby, though it would be responded to with rural fire apparatus at the moment. But
And that's kind of where my question was kind of leading to. So there would be a spillover benefit for the adjacent owners.
potentially, in a roundabout way, like it's just another option that would be there, knowing that, well, there's a fire hydrant over here, and if it's next door, we could potentially utilize that asset.
But from a city services, that would be on their patrol route, I would assume, to go through. So there's some spillover benefits. Okay.
Okay, Commissioner, if you don't have any questions, I would entertain a motion for this.
Where's Nancy at?
I'm sitting here in my hotel room.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll attempt to make the correct motion here, or to do it correctly, I should say. I recommend that we recommend approval the request to annex and zone to R4 PUD, approximately 15 acres located on South 10 East Street, formerly Daniels Road, east of Southwest Silverstone Avenue, west of South 10th East Street. This annexation also includes the entirety of South 10th East Street, Daniels Road, in brackets, that fronts this parcel of land with the following conditions, subject to site plan amendments as required by building, Public Works, fire, and zoning officials to comply with applicable city codes and standards, and all future development will comply with the use and bulk and coverage controls provided in attachment number 9, proposed plan and unit agreement.
Okay, I have a first, do I have a second?
Second.
Second, by Billy. Travis?
Aye.
Billy?
Aye.
Nancy?
I'm
And Mark?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Yes, sir.
Once more, I just want to, speaking to you, but also the rest of the audience can hear, certain components that were cited concerning this application today, specifically the TIS study. Again, that's public record. I have a bunch of my cards up here at front, so you can email me, you can ask that. The staff report that these individuals have as well is also public record. In there, you'll see a analysis of our current zoning ordinance. You'll see an analysis of the comprehensive plan. All of that's available. So we want to make sure that not only is this body as educated as possible, but we also want to make sure that the population at large is also having that same information. So,
Thank you. All right, Commissioner, we're going down to our second item, which is an action item to request to annex and zone C3 East 8 North Street. The applicant of KG Global and David Gronbeck. I apologize if I messed that up. A request to annex and zone C3, a parcel of land consisting of approximately 7.25 acres located on the north side of East 8th North Street and just west of American Legion Boulevard. The annexation also includes the entirety of East 8th North Street and that fronts the parcel of land. Terry.
awesome. So we're going to change the pace a little bit and talk about annexation for the purpose of future commercial development, which is always welcome here at the city. So what is being looked at is this subject property right here. It is directly east of the golf course, and the applicant is seeking annexation for the purpose of future mixed-use commercial development. This property is unique, and it's been literally years of process for the applicant in both securing the property, being that this was once owned by the Idaho Transportation Department, and being able to have the ability to actually use it for private development. The piece of property is approximately 7.75 acres. Per the future land use map, everything around here is designated for commercial use. So then what staff looks like to determine what zoning district would be best suited for the property, we look at our current zoning map, which I have shown to you right now. So all of this yellow space right here is C3 commercial. Up north past the interstate, it looks like we have some C4. It has been recommended by city staff, and also the applicant feels comfortable with the zoning designation as well, of being C3 commercial, which is similar to everything around it. So the C3 commercial district looks a lot like all of these uses which are currently in there. These can be big, these can be department stores, these can be commercial offices, they can be restaurants, they can be coffee shops. The entire gambit of a significant amount of different commercial uses. With that, having this be a annexation, there really isn't much to it. When we look at the standards of annexation, we are looking at items such as, are we able to service the property? We have infrastructure there. We have water. Does this balance the cost of annexation when it comes to the anticipated revenues? This is when we're getting into how much property tax will we be able to get back, which will sustain the annexation. This is when we think about impact fees, all of those. This item here is more or less known as a infill type development, which is the very best kind. It means it's already in our service area when it comes to fire, police, water, sewer. But now we actually get to take advantage of it and have those tax monies of having it be within the city, which generally the economic impact that the city would ultimately have would be favorable. Having it be a potential site for commercial activities, commercial goods, commercial services, which could provide jobs for our citizenry, which provides an opportunity for people to shop here. Mountain Home has significant retail leakage that we lose to Boise. Being able to have some of those monies spent here is always a good thing. So all in all, I believe this annexation is fairly straightforward. I want to make sure that I give the applicant an opportunity to kind of speak to it as well. I know Rich or Rakiti wants to speak to it because it is a different sort of situation. We have a park and ride, which is on the property directly to the east. Largely, a part of this is to actually move that park and ride over to the new property once it is annexed, so that the commercial uses can have full advantage over that corner, which I will allow the applicant, Mr. Grombeck, and also our public director to speak more to. So, Mr. Grombeck, if you have anything, if you just want to come forward.
Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. Brock, nice job. I think the zoning at this point is reasonably inconsequential. The plan is to develop a PUD for this parcel, including the adjacent parcel where the current park and ride resides. The development plan for this is to relocate the park and ride. We've worked with the various agencies over the years to get to a point where we can do that, and create some nice commercial frontage for different users. We've also been through the TIS and all the impact studies related to this project. We have some challenges moving forward. We can't fully develop this site until There's a roundabout, which has been discussed, and I don't know where that sits, at 8th and American Legion. That was the recommendation from ITD as far as the mitigation for even traffic now, not, and then obviously future development. Really, the first phase of this is relocating the park and ride and path to, create a developable parcel, and the PUD to come later. I mean, I'm hoping we can create a PUD that is flexible enough that I can meet the needs of the community. I know there's some shortage in apartments, so is the back portion, which is maybe not as good as commercial unless we find a big box that is interested, which we spent a lot of time doing and haven't been successful. It might be an opportunity to build a nice little multifamily project on the back of the parcel with commercial frontage. The PUD specifically is hopefully designed to, allow us to meet those demands of the community. I stand for questions.
I'll hold off on that until we go to the audience, or to the public comments. Rich, do you want to speak before I go open it up?
You can open it first.
Okay.
Well, they might have questions, I guess I can do that.
Okay.
So the parcel where the parking right is, it's actually 3 different grants that we had to do that. So, because there's the pathway that kind of comes down, and then there's the parking piece, and so that's how that was kind of designed. So, for this to be able to work, because we leased that piece from the state. So when the applicant bought that piece from the state, we still have that piece on the lease, so that's ours. So to be able to do anything and to fulfill the grants and how everything was, that has to be, equal or better moving into another spot. So along the golf course, we already have kind of it's Twitcha Hollow Road or whatever. So the path will move over next to that because he has to deed that amount of property to the city. So that'll be the city's piece after this. So the pathway will come down, the park and ride will be inside, kind of down, a little bit down farther, but so all that will fit in basically along the golf course side, so he'd be able to develop the whole big parcel as commercial.
Okay.
But that we've been working through those things, and we can pretty much have it taken care of. So
Perfect. Thank you. And again, this is just a reminder that this is only of annexing and zoning. There is no PUD currently.
Yes.
There is no planned development yet.
Mr. Chair, and if I can expand on that, and
Yep.
really what that means, just so the audience understands. So certain important documents that we talk about all the time, a TIS, you will see that when a PUD comes in, when we know exactly what the uses are going to be, and any other pertinent documents. This strictly gives the applicant zoning. Now, is that stopping the applicant to pursue uses which are outright permitted? No, but I believe the applicant is very aware that for the applicant to receive maximum value, it's in his best interest to go through the planned unit development process, which will allow him greater flexibility to bring in a greater variety of certain uses. And a lot of the more intense uses that we do have, from anything that has a drive through, certain commercial uses, you actually need a conditional use permit, where then you have to go through this body once more. So I just want you to know that a lot of the information that we typically have with planned unit developments and or subdivisions isn't here at this stage, being that this is solely annexing the property and giving it a zoning designation.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I would like to open it up to the public. Howdy again.
John Kruger, 410 West 3rd North. You signed in again. Again? I just signed in right there.
Both items.
So, in my opinion, absolutely annex this into the city. It needs to be brought in. And zoning it commercial, is exactly what needs to happen with it. With that, I'd like to put on the record to caution against putting any type of multifamily housing units or anything in that area. I feel like that's incongruous with the surrounding industrial complex that's being built up there. And of course, that's not a part of anything that's you guys are going to vote on tonight, but just a thought. Outside of that, yeah, bring it in. Let's get some commercial stuff going on up there.
Thanks, John. Sir?
You didn't know I was hiding right there.
Did I say you come in?
You want me to sign in first, correct?
You can actually go and we'll talk and then you can sign in after we're done.
Okay, most of you guys know me. Mr. Chairman, the Honorable Mr. Schroeder.
Could you say your name for the record? So
Yes, my name is David Esquena. I'm here wearing several hats. I'll do the quickest one. I'm on the board for the Elmore Soil and Water Conservation District. We would like to get more notices of these kind of things. We're not getting them. If we had gotten it, we'd send in a boilerplate thing that said, make sure they take care of all their weeds. So it's not a real critical, big-time thing. I'm also on the Mountain Home Irrigation District Board, and I don't know, were you at our meeting?
Yes.
Okay, one of the people that was talking about this came to our meeting and talked to us about it. Our main comment is, no, we do not want your stormwater runoff to come into our canal, period. But I believe you answered that question in your,
In the previous action, that it has to be retained.
correct. I mean, if you want to know why, I can tell you why, but we don't need to take time. And that's the only thing. As a private citizen of Elmore County, I'm all for it, to bring in the development and stuff, yeah. But concern is stormwater, that's the only one.
Perfect. Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
And
Go ahead and sign in when you do get a chance.
Mr. Chair, so we do have a list of political subdivisions. If any entity from the highway district to the irrigation district, if you feel you're not getting them, let us know. We want to make sure that you're definitely part of those things, and we want to make sure you're getting the information.
We are getting them in the irrigation district, and our secretary is the same, we're on both boards.
Yeah.
So we haul them over there, but they would prefer to get their own too.
Yes, sir. If you can just give that information to Brenda right over there, we'll put you on our list. Good. That's something we can do.
Awesome. Dave, see you on Wednesday?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
good?
Yep.
Okay.
Anybody else?
I do just have one question. It's really hard to hear in the back.
Yeah.
I was just curious about if there's some way we could get like some speakers in the back or something.
That's a great question. I'm going to ask the council for that, actually. That's a really good idea.
It's been tough trying to hear what's going on. And
Yeah. No,
everybody
I'm...
speaks as loud as you did. That was awesome.
I use my teacher voice.
Yes, he does. No, absolutely, I agree.
Thank you.
Yep,
Yeah,
definitely. We'll make a note and definitely send that over to the council. I mean, we can't do anything about it here, of course, but council for sure. Yep.
Please do. Thank you.
Yep, definitely. Okay, seeing nobody else from the public, I'm going to close that hearing. A lot of the concerns that I did hear from the public was more about the development that might potentially come, not necessarily about the annexing. In fact, I heard more about, yeah, let's get it in here. And I would agree that we need to pay attention to when that development comes in. And I know that you already have all of those concerns written down and stocked away to make sure that we pay attention to those. So, questions from the commission?
Yes, sir.
All right. In that case, I'll entertain a motion. You did a good job, Mark.
Do you want me to do it again?
I mean, you did a good job.
I'll do this second one. Mr. Chair, I make a motion to recommend approval for the request to annex and zone C3, a parcel of land consisting of approximately 7.25 acres located on the north side of East 8th North Street and just west of American Legion Boulevard. The annexation also includes the entirety of East 8th North Street that fronts this parcel of land. This recommendation with the following conditions, subject to the site plan amendments as required by building, public works, fire, and zoning officials to comply with applicable city codes and standards, and all future development will comply with the bulk and coverage controls of the C3 zoning district.
Perfect. I have the first by Mark. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Billy. Mark, we'll start with you this time.
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Billy?
Aye.
Travis?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, for our next item, we have a request to annex and zone C4 at 1145 Airbase Road. The applicant is United Metals. I'm going to really butcher that last name, and I apologize. April Weimler? Did I get it? Weimler? Oh, okay. So she's not here, but you're here. Okay, perfect. It's a request to annex and zone a C4, a parcel of land consisting of approximately 7.982 acres, addressed at 1145 Airbase Road. Brock?
Alrighty. Another commercial project being proposed off of Airbase Road. Just so we can get our bearings, right here is the Meadows Trailer Park, and then we have the old United Metals site right here. What is being proposed is actually twofold. We'll have two applications before you. One will actually be concerning annexation. The second will be more of the land use, which is being proposed via conditional use permit. We have a 7.73 acre vacant parcel, which they wish to be C4 heavy commercial. When you look around, this dashed area is all C4 commercial. It's general highway commercial. They wish to have the same designation. The property, when it actually comes to the future land use map, it has two designations. So the first 5 acres, about to here, is designated as commercial. The remaining 2 acres to the south is residential. So the thing about the future land use map with our comprehensive plan is it's supposed to give us the general idea of generally we want commercial uses here, generally we want residential uses here. But it's not a finite boundary that has to be followed. But it's to give us the larger idea on a very macro level. Generally, these uses are here, and these uses are here. When we look at our standards as far as annexation, it's all about, can we service it? Does it meet our goals? We have services in the area. We have people all currently within the city right across the street. Also, the annexation of the manufactured home park, the Meadows, is currently within their process. The city council said that they will annex the property, but they have to finish some mitigation efforts first. As far as their current sewer system, they are currently doing that. Once that is mitigated, they will be officially annexed. However, even without the annexation of the Meadows being completed, we are still able to annex the subject property. With that, strictly concerning annexation, and also, well, only annexation, I don't have really anything much to say. I do want to yield my time to the applicant. Know that during the applicant's presentation, they may speak somewhat to the proposed use for that property. Know that that really doesn't bear any bearing now, but for the sake of their presentation being comprehensive, they're likely to bring it up, and then maybe their presentation may be a little bit shorter when it comes to the land use portion. We just want to make sure the information is given to you in a way that makes sense. So with that, I yield my time to the applicant. And then for any questions you may have afterwards.
Hi there. Stephanie Hopkins with KM Engineering, 5725 North Discovery Way in Boise, 83713. Do you want me to sign in on this?
You don't have to sign it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'll cover the annexation part first, and then as Brock mentioned, we do have a conditional use permit that we're requesting as well, so that's kind of covered in my presentation. Mr. Cherry did a really great job and was pretty comprehensive with our request. We're requesting the C4 district. It's pretty consistent with what's in the area.
Yeah.
Okay. There's C4 to the north and to the east, and then some residential properties in the vicinity as well. The property is 7.73 acres. I'll try my best not to be duplicative, but we're south of Fairplace Road between 14th and Haskett. And we're proposing to develop 5 acres of the site. We'll leave 2.23, which is kind of that residential comp plan designated area, undeveloped for the time being, with the plan to develop it potentially in the future. This is a future land use map. It's commercial with a little bit of residential. And this is our proposed development plan. Do you want me to go through this now, or do you want me to come up later with the conditional use?
No, actually, go ahead and go through it now. That way, when we get to the next portion, then it's easier to understand.
Okay.
Yep.
As Mr. Cherry mentioned, this used to be an auto recycling center, United Metals. I'm here representing them. They're the applicant, and we do have someone from the company here too, so they can answer questions if I happen to not know the answer to them. There are 3 accesses currently to the site. We're proposing to close 2 of those, and we'll keep 1 open. That's depicted with the driveway there on the southern portion of the site plan, or I'm sorry, the northwest portion of the site plan. North is facing to the left. There are 4 existing buildings. We're going to be demolishing 2 of them and keeping 2 there. So the office is kind of closest, it's in the center, closest to the road. We'll be keeping that as an office, and then on the northwest corner, there's a storage building that we'll be keeping as well to be used as storage. There will be 6 enclosed storage facilities along the easterly and westerly property lines. There will be varying storage unit sizes ranging from 10 by 10 to 14 by 45. All of these units are going to be fully enclosed with large door accesses. There'll be 54 14 by 40 RV units that will also have canopies. They'll be centrally located with pull-through access throughout the site, so you'll see kind of the granulated looking sites. Those are for RV specifically. The southerly portion of the 5-acre parcel project is going to be left open and designated for excess storage and large equipment storage if need be. There will be security fencing around the perimeter of the site with a security gate for access. Our client, I think there'll probably be like 1 employee for the most part, may not be fully manned all the time. It'll be pretty automated, so folks will be able to come and go as they please, but it'll be secure to keep everyone's belongings safe. The conditional use permit request is consistent with the future land use map, and it does support the comprehensive plan, specifically through the economic development policies, enhance Mountain Home's current resources and opportunities to attract future businesses in this area. And it's going to be compatible with surrounding development and provide a service to adjacent residential properties. And then, as I mentioned, it's consistent with future land use map designation of commercial. We believe this will be a great project for this area. It's consistent with what's already here, and it'll provide a service that is needed by a lot of folks. We've enjoyed working with the city so far on this and look forward to continuing to work with them. One thing that we would like to explore is the opportunity to delay extending services specifically to this site, given that there's some other properties that are coming in for annexation in the area, specifically to the east, and I think to the west. There's a property that was looking at coming into the city for annexation. This is going to be a pretty light use as far as utilities are concerned, so we'd like to potentially look at a condition or something that would allow us to delay extension of those services with a sunset clause or something like that, that we would have septic and well until and if services come in. So that's something that I'd like to have we'd like to have a discussion with you tonight with a recommendation to City Council.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get to that one on the next one for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, for now, thank you. And This is only currently what we're doing is the annexing of Zone 4. We're not talking about the conditional use permit as of yet. So with that, I will go ahead and open it up to the public for anybody who has any comments or questions about the annexing and of the zoning. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing on that one. And Commission, this is strictly annexing and zoning of the C4. Questions, comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have several.
Yep.
I'm curious to know, I know Allied bought it a while back, but I'm curious to know, Barger Mattson, I believe, owned it beforehand. How long have they been in business? When was it established as the auto recycling? Because I know Barger Mattson's been around Idaho since the 60s, I think. But I don't know if in Mountain Home.
There was a 62 family.
Yeah. Well, let me just cut to the chase here. The reason I'm asking that is because based on the historical use of this site, and I don't know what Allied did with it, but for the majority of several decades probably, it's been an auto recycling center. Now, auto recycling centers have the high potential of contaminating the site. There's gasoline and brake fluid, both containing benzene. There's a multitude of petroleum products, ethylene, propylene glycols, lead, asbestos, an array of hazards. I'm curious to know if a site assessment, environmental site assessment, has ever been done, and if there has been any done, what the results of that were, and has it been within 1 year? Because there was a question about knowing the comprehensive plan earlier, and I say that because we've referred to the comprehensive plan on every single proposal. It's kind of like almost a rule book, like regulations. We have to make sure these proposals meet or exceed what the intent of the comprehensive plan is, along with ordinances and so forth, and Idaho law. With this site being historically an auto recycle center with the high potential of contamination, this body's required with every proposal to ensure that it doesn't pose a health or safety or welfare issue for the community. Now, absent a recent environmental site assessment, I don't think we can say that the site doesn't already pose a health and safety or welfare issue to the community. So,
Correct me if I'm wrong, please, Brock, on this, but that is more for the planned development portion of it, not necessarily the zoning necessarily of it. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I do. And I get what you're saying.
So, if I may answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's kind of gray. No pun intended. Given what we're speaking with. I believe that the comprehensive plan, we don't want to annex a problem child. I remember that was the issue with the Meadows property, which was right next door. We understood that they had a sewer system that was failing. There was concern about annexing them prior to having that mitigated. So I believe the concern that it does have some standing when we are considering annexation. In my opinion, what would be my professional recommendation concerning that specific component is here at the city, we don't have anyone who has the certifications, knowledge, or the ability to determine the suitability of the environment. I would assume that there are some studies that have been done by state entities or maybe federal entities. potential recommendations which could be made by this body to ensure the status of the property. Could be that prior to annexation, prior to the granting of any sort of conditional use permit, that they supply such documents. I don't know what agency we would want those to be from. Once more, this isn't my area that I'm knowledgeable of. But I believe that there is the potential for certain conditions to be crafted for the land use portion, for the zoning portion to continue forward with having safeguards that prior to the finalization of any of those items that certain documents are presented. I just don't know what those documents would be.
Go ahead, Mark.
This was very cumbersome when it came to the meadows. Over the course of a year, it had went to city council and they turned it away for that reason. And then it came before this body again, and that was addressed, and now we're essentially tabling it, the meadow side, right?
So the meadow side, it was approved, but part of the annexation
For the
agreement
right.
that is there. So the annexation is approved. However, before the annexation is finalized, before it is recorded, it has been approved. They have to do mitigation work.
So
Basically, it puts it upon that applicant to complete those.
Sure. In my experience, and I know just enough about this to probably say the wrong thing. I've done in safety and environmental compliance and management for about a dozen years and studied it and have an advanced degree in it. There are private agencies. I have absolutely zero idea of the cost. There are a whole host of private agencies that will do, whether you want to call it, Idaho DEQ calls it a preliminary site assessment, and the majority of the environmental world calls it a phase 1 environmental site assessment. And there's many private companies that do that. I think that the Idaho Department of Environmental Quality, they have a program that they will do that. The problem would arise for the owner is if they find something, because then it's going to get real expensive. But I think it's prudent to know what's there, giving the history of this site prior to going forward at all.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, are you suggesting that before we move forward on this, we would like to see an environmental study?
I would suggest strongly that we table this until we know, based on a professional assessment of the environmental condition of that site.
Okay.
Unless one was done when Allied bought it. Now, I don't know if Allied just bought it or was there a lender involved, because most lenders will require that environmental assessment done, and those environmental assessments are good for 365 days. So if that was done, then maybe we're already okay. I don't know.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Seeing that we are in the presence of the actual landowner, maybe we should ask him some of these specific questions to see if there are any documents and kind of get his viewpoint of what has been done thus far as the environmental status.
Perfect.
Sounds like a great
Yeah,
idea.
come on up.
So I'm not actually the landowner, but I do work for the landowner. Do I need to sign in?
Yeah, just in case.
What's your name, sir?
Casey Howell, 4331 North Borrego Way, Boise, Idaho, 837. So we don't have any historical reports. It was purchased from a private party. No bank was involved. But part of the financing, as you mentioned, is going to require a phase 1 environmental. So if you guys do want to require that, we could order that through the bank and provide that.
I'm with you, Mark. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, you bring an expertise to this, and you caught that, which is awesome. And I think that that's a good move forward. Brock, if that's the case, then we're going to, what we would do is table it until further information is provided, correct?
Yes, you do have that option. So there's two options. So, and I'm the community development director. I wear one hat, planning and zoning, chief city planner, facilitating the process. The other hat, economic development. Ensure that we can timely implement certain items. Given what this body determines is best, if you believe that it is paramount to the well-being of the city that you wish to table the item, until we receive such documentation, you certainly can. However, another option would be doing a condition or recommending a condition to the city council that your positive recommendation would be based upon having such documentation.
Jeff?
Or just add another approach could be to recommend approval of the annex and zoning, but not act on the conditional use permit, contingent on the findings of the environmental assessment. So nothing that you do drawing boundaries around it is going to change what's there, nor is it going to change how we approach it or how it can affect somebody else. In other words, that part, just bringing it inside the city isn't going to alter anything about what's sitting in the ground already. What it could affect ultimately is their plans for the site, and in that regard, so I think you would be well advised to delay approving the conditional use permit for the purpose to which they want to put it, but bringing it in the city and zoning it isn't going to affect that aspect of it. And given the willingness to go through the bank,
hold on, Nancy,
to have that done through the bank, I think that's exactly the kind of the process that you would go through.
Okay. Nancy?
That I've been thinking that exact same thing. That was Jeff, correct?
Yeah.
Speaking? Yeah. Okay. Because looking strictly at the annexation, it's not going to make the city responsible for anything if it's annexed in. It's there. Nothing's going to change. The big part of it is when you decide what you're going to use it for. And that has to be a whole new thing anyway. So my thought is to go ahead and do the annexation part, because it's not going to make any difference to the city as far as being responsible, liable, all that kind of stuff, if I'm correct, if I understand that correctly.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly what Jeff was saying. Billy?
Mr. Chair, wasn't it the issue we had with New Meadows, though? We delayed it and went back and forth to
Right,
city council.
that's exactly was the point I was just going to make. It's going to be a conflict, I think. I mean, they're waiting, city council is waiting till they're done and satisfy those cleanup efforts. I think this is along the same line. I don't know why it would be a problem. I think it would be more of a problem if we went forward and we did end up recommending approval annexation. Site 1, it's all hypothetical, obviously, and Site 1, or a Phase 1 site survey ends up with contamination and these remediation efforts done, and then the applicant decides, well, we got to go this other route, we're not going to do it, and now we're annexed and we're not doing anything. So honestly, I think the best effort, obviously, if it's there, it's there now. I think this is a very good project, and it's in a good location for what it's asking for. I just think we should, at least Mark's humble opinion, know what we're getting into before we consider annexation or anything else.
So you want...
Mark?
Yes.
Sorry.
Nancy, go ahead.
I'm just...
Go ahead.
Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry. If... This is what's in my mind. If the people who are wanting to do this and go forward with this land, right now nothing's happening with it. They want the annexation. Don't you think that being annexed in then would make them for sure, knowing they're not going to get it approved if there's any problem, make them for sure get it tested.
Knowing
that
they're
make
not-
sense?
Knowing they're not gonna get what approved? The development or the annexation?
If we table the annexation,
I get what you're saying. So you're
yeah,
saying it would be
I think
best.
I'm thinking the motivation in my mind. If I get the annexation as the developer, then I'm annexed. I've got my first hurdle in a sense, but now I know I can't go any further until I do studies, whatever we would want to put on, that would have to be done before.
But couldn't the same argument be if they found out that this property costs X amount of dollars, the ROI is not there, are they just gonna leave it as is?
Well, they're not gonna be able to.
Well,
If they're not gonna be able
Well,
to.
no, but I'm saying that say that they don't wanna build, say that, okay, we found, and I don't know that your expertise on this, but say that they got the property, they found X, it's gonna cost Y to fix it, the total project is not gonna yield Y, so ROI, they're just gonna abandon it and just resell it to someone else.
I would just add that in the development code, the requirement for an environmental assessment resides in the part where you approve a plat for a subdivision. And so if this piece of property later on is going to be platted for whatever future development they have, that's teeth in that section of it.
Sure.
So that's.
I'm not, certainly not, Mr. Chairman, I'm not suggesting that it's a requirement at all. I'm suggesting that based on the requirement of this body to ensure that the health and safety and welfare of the community, I mean, for the proposal. This is a proposal for annexation, not to build, but there may be an existing health issue there that I want to know about.
And I totally, I understand. Hold on, Nancy. And I totally understand what you're saying. But that land is still sitting there, whether it's annexed or not. So it doesn't matter. So that land, whether it's contaminated right now or not, annexing is not going to change any of that. It's still going to be land. And it's still just going to be annexed.
Well,
now the moment that all of a sudden they want to come with the plat with what they want to do, that's when we go, okay, let's do an environmental study first, because the land's still there. And that's kind of like what I'm hearing from the arguments from like what Jeff is saying, is that contamination or no, at this point, that land still is contaminated, whether we know it or not.
But the only benefit to the city is just gaining city taxes off of it.
Correct.
Because that's the same happened with Meadows. We didn't want to take on, and correct me if I'm wrong when I'm speaking out of term, but they didn't want to take it on, the council didn't want to take it on because of X environmental impact. And you said it yourself, we didn't want to, have a bad piece of land or something to that effect.
But what could be recommended as another option would be that you have a condition that the annexation agreement include them supplying this documentation which is being spoken of before it is finalized and recorded. And you could add that as a condition.
So it would provide the environmental impact study. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if it's called, and I don't have the...
It's called an environmental site assessment.
Okay.
A phase 1. ESA for short.
And the lender is going to require a phase 1.
Right, and so that's why I say, I mean, they want to develop it, and I don't see why they wouldn't just go out and get the assessment done now and satisfy all of the concerns. Mr. Chairman, I mean, I'm back to what Mr. Roder's talking about. I mean, there's concern about environmental conditions for Meadows, and they held off essentially for that annexation. They weren't building anything.
So then let me say this then. Do you have a motion in which you would state that the annexation would go through pending the annexation agreement provide EAS?
I think the simplest way to do this would be to table it until a favorable environmental site assessment is included in the package.
Well then, Mark,
Yeah.
why can't we make a motion to
We can.
approve annexation pending, I guess, if you want a better word or some other word, pending an environmental.
A favorable environmental site assessment. I'll buy that.
That skips forward a little bit. I mean, you're still okay.
Right.
And in my mind, I'm still saying it is what it is.
I
Whether
understand.
it's contaminated or not, it's still there.
Absolutely.
It's still part of our community.
Okay.
If I walk on that road, do you see what I'm saying?
No, I do.
I don't see that it is a hazard. You know, we keep talking about the meadows. We could have annexed, if you're looking at the same way, we could have annexed the meadows pending them doing what they needed to do.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Jeff.
I just was clarifying with Mr. Urquidy that the analogy isn't quite accurate. There was a sewage treatment plant or a sewer lagoon that was failing, and the city was not going to accept that for their sewage disposal, and it required them to mitigate both the failing sewage lagoon and to connect to city sewer is the delay. It had nothing to do with them, remediating that before we would accept. It's just, they've got to get that plant closed and converted to the city sewer system because that private sewer lagoon failed or was failing or imminent failure. So it's different.
It is different,
from
sure.
just purely cleaning up the site. So I just want to clarify.
Mr. Chairman, I think if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, their concern primarily was environmental in nature, but
Yeah.
because of that pond, and their concern was when they hooked up, they were going to have contamination in the city system, and they didn't want it. I was just using it kind of in a general term, that it was environmental in nature, and they were holding off. They were saying, look, we're not going to do this until you fix this problem. So, but what Nancy's saying, I think I would be okay with that. So basically, it would be a recommendation pending a favorable Phase 1 environmental site assessment, and with one that is not favorable and requires remediation efforts, then it wouldn't be approved. We wouldn't be recommending the approval.
Okay.
Is that?
Well, it sounds like a motion to me.
Me too, I second.
Now, what we need to do is make sure that we have all of that corrected so that on record it sounds correct. So,
only on.
Jeff, how are we going to state this so that legally it is how it should sound?
So your motion is to recommend approval of the annexation and the zoning of the property, provided that they supply
favorable
environmental
Got it.
assessment.
Okay.
So my question.
All right.
Hold on, Mark. Yeah, Billy.
So, Mr. Commissioner, my question is, based upon what your motion is, we have proven it, but we haven't seen it, so when do they provide the favorable assessment study? Because, and again, maybe I'm thinking in different terms than everyone else on this, but we're saying, yes, you can have it, but without you seeing the study. So say the study comes back and it's negative, do we retroact and remove this condition? Or are we putting a horse before the cart?
I see what you're saying. So not just getting it done, but you want it to say something.
I want to, yeah, to me, and I understand what Commissioner Mark,
So I'm a little confused about that. So help me understand that part of it. If you want to know what's there versus you want there to be a lack of certain things. Those are two different standards, and I don't think you can hold them to. I don't want so many millimeters of mercury and this sort of thing. So if you're just saying get the assessment so that whoever has the property knows what's on the property, is that what that assessment?
Because
I think what I'm saying is, again, my knowledge is limited on the actual requirements, and I'm requesting the favorable Phase 1 site assessment, meaning, or I would be in a motion, a favorable Phase 1 site assessment, and would want the remediation would have to go forward if it was not favorable. It would have to.
My question, Mark, would be, how do you define favorable?
Oh, the DEQ would define favorable, not me. DEQ has levels of acceptance for all the chemicals.
Mr. Schroeder, on one property, I can't think of the subdivision, it was over by Greystone, that one area, I can't think of the...
Thunderbolt?
Thunderbolt.
There was questions of some contamination, and they had to bring a copy saying it was clear, so it's pretty much the same.
Right.
Now, I know it's not apple to apple, but it's kind of the same thing. Before we can say yes, we need to have a clear bill of health by whatever government agency says that's clear bill of health based on what they're building.
So that was a...
Can I say something?
Hold on, 1 second, Nancy. Jeff, go ahead.
Okay.
So first of all, that was a plating in conjunction with an annexation, but I also believe the applicant just offered that. I don't know that we...
Well, Mr. Chairman, there was some public comment
There was,
that generated them producing it.
I had a suggestion or maybe a question that maybe we could entertain, is to have a condition that we to get a favorable phase 1 environmental study to be able to recommend approval to city council, and they could review that study at that time. If it's unfavorable, it would have to be remanded back to planning and zoning commission to discuss mitigation. Would that be something that would be a...
That's exactly down the line you want to see there.
Yeah,
And that answers your question.
Yeah, and that's consistent with where I thought it was kind of going.
So council's the one that sees it, and if they see that it's unfavorable, it gets kicked back to us.
Then we would start the process from square one.
Yep.
So this is basically addressing your concern, so we would have to clearly build a health, and we would not allow it in the city until we know what's on there, whatever it is. And it might be nothing, it might be something, but at least we would know.
Nancy, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I have a problem with saying favorable, which if it's not favorable, then the whole thing is down the tubes. Then it's not going to be annexed. I still see it as two separate things. If it's annexed into the city, it's neither here nor there. That's what I said before, whether it's favorable or not, because the city is not going to be liable for anything on there. It's there. It's just going to be in the city or not in the city. So if you keep the two things separate, you can annex it based on inspection, whatever you want to do. I forget, Mark, what you said. But anyway, then depending on, because that's going to say right there whether it's annexed, what they have to do from then on to go ahead with their development. I keep thinking we're trying to shove the two together, and in my mind, I can't see the two together. I can see the annexation, and pending on, which makes it stronger.
Sure.
That you still have to get a inspection, and then the second part of that is before you can do anything, if the inspection says that it's not, that it's not favorable, then you've got to do something before you've got to mitigate it before you go any further.
Right, I agree. I think that's a good alternative to versus tabling the annexation proposal. I think we can recommend for approval pending a favorable outcome of the phase 1 environmental site assessment.
I'm sorry, Mark, I wouldn't say favorable. I'm out of turn, I know. I would just say pending an investigation.
The environmental site assessment.
Yes.
And then let city council decide what they want to do at that point?
Well, they're going to have to look at it too to see whether they want to annex it or not.
Well, I guess that makes sense, because if it's favorable, we're just pressing forward. If it's not, they're gonna be required by the state anyway.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, I'm ready to make a motion.
I got it.
Okay, Billy?
Not to belabor this, but it kind of goes back to your first general statement of the comprehensive plan, because our job is to make sure before anything gets annexed or in that process, it meets that. And maybe I'm reading too much into this, but I'm still stuck on that until when favorable or not, we should know what's going in.
Well, I think, Billy, Mr. Chairman, I think it's better to do it this way, because the property owner wants to develop it.
Right.
We want it developed. We want it annexed. They already have to get a survey done. They have to with the development because they're going to get a loan. They've
Right,
already
it feels
demanded
like,
that.
to me, it's backwards. It's feel like
No, I understand what you're saying, but my point is, this kind of gives it, and this has actually changed my initial thought on it, because I wanted to just table it and say, well, why don't we just get the report so we can see what we're looking at. But this says, look, property owner, we want you to do this. We want you to develop this. How about you just get this environmental site assessment done so we can satisfy our mind and press forward with this proposal. I think that's better than saying, well, let's just table it and let them go on and redo
Well, no,
the whole thing
get that,
again.
and I don't want to waste the applicant time or money, but again, I don't know the time limit to do a study, and I don't know, I'm not knowledgeable
So
of that.
can I suggest something? Mark, why don't you go ahead and state a motion, and at that point, make a decision whether
Okay.
you feel.
That's fair.
Yeah, whether you can vote for it or not.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. Mark?
Okay, I'm going to try to make this as clean as possible. It's very short. I think this will work. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to request approval of a request to annex and zone C4 a parcel of land consisting of approximately 7.982 acres addressed as 1145 Air Base Road, pending a Phase 1 environmental site assessment by a certified professional.
Jeff, how'd that sound?
Perfect.
Awesome. I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right. I'm going to go with Travis. I don't ever say Travis in there. All right, Mark, start with
Aye.
you. Nancy?
Aye.
Billy?
Aye.
That was a nay?
Yep.
Okay. Travis?
Aye.
Okay, motion does pass. Okay, that then leads us to our next item, which is the request for a conditional use permit for use and storage. Before we get into that, then I don't think that has to be tabled.
Right.
Okay. Okay. In that case, we will table that item until we get the full from council, right?
I make a motion that we table that.
I like that. All right.
I'll second.
Table second. How about this? Well, let's go around the room just to make sure it's right. Mark?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Billy? Travis?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes and that item will be tabled. Thank you, both of you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And,
Appreciate it.
no new business, no old. Oh, we do have old business.
Okay, before we even get into all this, I withdraw my name.
What?
What?
Yeah.
You withdraw your name?
I withdraw my name, yes.
Well, in that case, that means that the only name that was presented was Mr. Roeder. So.
Unless I nominate Nancy.
Don't you?
I nominate Nancy.
Oh. All right, Nancy, you're nominated. Doesn't mean you have to vote for yourself.
Okay.
So, in that case, how do we want to do voting, Jeff? For
However you want.
okay.
I think anonymously would probably be your best bet.
You write them down, I'll delete them.
Okay. We'll do that.
Should we get some tiki
What?
torches too?
We're gonna write down names and then we'll determine who's gonna become vice chair. Do we have sticky notes?
Yeah, well, it makes it unanimous.
Thought you gonna backpedal out of that.
There's no tomfoolery with this one.
Okay, I'm gonna take Nancy back so she can tell me who she wants.
Thank you.
That's Nancy's.
I spelled her last name. B-R-L-E-C.
Oh, I don't.
If the chairman dies, I'm pretty sure he takes over their lands.
Go count all 5 cards.
Can't be a tie, so that was good. Okay.
All right. In that case, Mr. Roder does become vice chair. Congratulations. If I had something to give you, I would.
Take a pizza.
Awesome. With that then, no items requested by staff, and ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned at 7:56. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, see you, Nancy. Enjoy your hotel room.
Oh, yeah, right.
Bye.
She on vacation or something?
Oh, careful.
This is what it's about.
Short.
Good, yeah, that, you that corner.